I was back, reborn, reliving a day I knew all too well. My 18th birthday, the one no one would acknowledge. This time I didn't react. I didn't panic or feel the familiar sting of tears, nor did I feel that knot of disappointment in my stomach like before. I simply lay there listening. The scent of coffee, strong and sweet, drifted up the stairs, mingling with the faint aroma of bacon. My mother was making breakfast, and Livia, my younger sister, was undoubtedly at the center of attention. I heard her voice first, light and airy, as she said something about a little celebration her friends were throwing later. "Oh, and don't forget to get me a gift, Mom," she added casually. A little celebration for her upcoming birthday, which was still a week away. Mine today would be ignored again, just like always. I swung my legs out of bed, the worn wooden floorboards creaking beneath my feet as I walked over to the mirror. Staring at my reflection, I saw what I had missed the first time around. An 18-year-old girl with a fresh face, but also a lifetime of disappointments ahead of her. Except this time I knew better. From the top of the stairs I watched them, my mother and Livia sitting at the kitchen table, bathed in golden morning light. Livia twirled a strand of her blonde hair, chattering excitedly about her plans, while our mom gazed at her with pride. It was the same look she always gave Livia, the one she never saved for me. My father wasn't there, probably already buried in spreadsheets and meetings. He'd forget too. He always did. And my brother Mark. He wouldn't even be home. Too busy with his own life, his own friends, his own important matters. I had lived this exact day before. I knew the script by heart. The forced smiles, the awkward silences, the half-hearted happy birthday, tossed my way if I was lucky. But this time I wouldn't play along. I wouldn't wait. I wouldn't hope. I turned away from the scene below, my heart strangely calm. I walked back into my bedroom and closed the door softly behind me. I went to my closet and pulled out a small, worn duffel bag. I packed quickly, efficiently. A few changes of clothes, my favorite book, and the small amount of cash I'd managed to save over the years. Essentials. I didn't pack any mementos. No photographs. No reminders of the life I was leaving behind. There was nothing here I wanted to keep. I walked out of my room, down the stairs, and out the front door without saying a word. The laughter from the kitchen followed me like a cheerful soundtrack to my silent departure. As I walked away from the house, the only home I'd ever known, I didn't feel sadness or anger or regret. Felt free. Quiet, liberating sense of release. This time I was choosing my own path. The city streets were bustling with early morning activity. People rushing to work, school, their lives, but I felt strangely detached, like I was watching a movie, a scene I was no longer part of. I was invisible, a ghost drifting through a familiar landscape. And for the first time that invisibility felt like a superpower, not a curse. I walked to the bus station, the air thick with the smell of exhaust fumes and diesel. The station was a chaotic hub of people coming and going, their faces etched with anticipation, weariness, or boredom. I approached the ticket counter, my heart beating steady and determined. "One-way ticket, please," I said to the clerk, my voice surprisingly calm. "Where to?" he asked without looking up. I hesitated. Where to? It didn't matter. Anywhere but here. I scanned the list of destinations and picked one at random. Seabreeze Cove. I'd never heard of it, but it sounded peaceful. "That'll be $20, he said, handing me a ticket. I paid with cash, the bills feeling strangely heavy in my hand. This was it, no turning back. I found a seat near the back of the bus and settled in for the long ride. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a notification from the family group chat. I didn't bother to check it. I knew what it would be. Pictures of Livia, messages about her party plans for the weekend. Nothing about me. I deleted the notifications and watched the city blur past the window. Familiar landmarks faded into the distance. The skyscrapers, the bustling streets, the house on Oak Street. It all felt like a distant dream, a life I'd left behind. A memory surfaced unbidden, one of many, of being overlooked. My 10th birthday. My parents had promised me a special chocolate cake with my favorite frosting. But Livia decided last minute she wanted to learn the violin. They rushed out to buy her one and completely forgot about my cake. I spent the evening eating leftover pizza alone in my room while Olivia screeched her way through Twinkle Twinkle Little Star downstairs. I pushed the memory aside. It was the past, and I was moving forward. The bus rumbled on, carrying me away from everything I'd ever known toward an uncertain future. But for the first time in a long time I felt hope, a glimmer of possibility. I was free, and that was all that mattered. The bus pulled into Seabreeze Cove late in the afternoon. The town was small, quaint, and utterly charming. The air smelled of salt and sea, a refreshing change from the city smog I was used to. Colorful houses lined the narrow streets, their gardens overflowing with flowers. Fishing boats bobbed gently in the harbor, their masts swaying in the breeze. It was a postcard-perfect scene, a world away from the sterile, suffocating environment I'd left behind. I found a boarding house near the beach, a faded Victorian building with a wraparound porch and a sign that read "Rooms for Rent." The landlady, Mrs. Peterson, had kind eyes and a warm smile. She showed me to a small but clean room on the second floor. It had a window overlooking the ocean, a view that would have cost a fortune in the city. Here it was just part of the scenery. I paid for a week in advance using the last of my cash. I needed to find a job, and fast. I spent the rest of the afternoon exploring the town. The pace of life was slow, unhurried, a stark contrast to the frantic energy of the city. People smiled at me, said hello, made eye contact. It was disarming. I found a small, family-run cafe near the harbor called The Salty Siren. A handwritten sign in the window read, "Waitress wanted." Felt like a sign. I walked in. The scent of freshly brewed coffee and baking bread filled the air. A bell above the door jingled as I entered. A woman in her late 40s looked up from behind the counter. Her face was tired but friendly. "Can I help you?" she asked. "I saw the sign in the window," I said. "I'm looking for a job." She looked me over. "Ever a waitress?" "Before." I lied smoothly. "Yes. I'd worked plenty of odd jobs in my previous life. Enough to know the basics." She hired me on the spot, trial basis, she said, but I could start tomorrow. I walked out of the cafe with a small smile playing on my lips. Had a job, place to stay, a new beginning. That evening I walked along the beach barefoot, the sand cool and soft beneath my feet. The waves crashed against the shore in a rhythmic, soothing sound. The sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange, pink, and purple. It was beautiful. For the first time in a long time I felt peaceful. A memory flashed, sharp and painful. My 16th birthday. I'd spent weeks planning a small party, inviting a few close friends, even baked my own cake. But on the day of the party, my parents announced they were taking Livia to a special audition for a performing arts school. They completely forgot about my party. My friends made excuses one by one until I was left alone with a cake no one would eat. I pushed the memory aside. It didn't matter anymore. I was no longer that girl, striving for attention, approval, love that would never come. I was here now, in this new place, creating a new life for myself. I sat down on a piece of driftwood, watching the waves and listening to the cry of seagulls. I was no longer Serena Vale, the forgotten daughter. I was just Serena. And for the first time that felt like enough. I was content. I was free. And I was finally truly happy. Back at the Vale household, the frenetic energy of pre-celebration filled the air. Livia's birthday, or rather the week-long extravaganza leading up to it, was in full swing. Balloons bobbed from the ceiling, streamers draped across doorways, and the kitchen counter overflowed with platters of appetizers and half-finished party favors. A week had passed, 7 days, and no one had noticed that Serena was gone. Livia flitted around the house like a hummingbird, her phone glued to her ear, her voice a constant stream of excited chatter. No pastel pink. Not hot pink. Are you blind?" She paused, tapping a perfectly manicured fingernail against her chin. "Yes, the peonies need to be delivered by noon. It's my party. I can have whatever I want." He paused again. "Mom, where's Serena? I need her to pick up the extra balloons, the ones with glitter. She knows the place. Her mother, Carol, was elbow deep in a bowl of something that was supposed to be artisanal dip, but looked suspiciously like curdled mayonnaise. Serena. Oh, I don't know, dear. Probably in her room sulking as usual. Livia rolled her eyes. Ugh, she's so dramatic. It's my birthday week. Can't she just be normal for once? She pulled out her phone and typed a quick message. Serena. Get to Party Palace now. Extra glitter balloons. Don't be late. She hit send without waiting for a reply. Serena always did what she was told. Eventually. But as the day wore on, a tiny seed of unease began to sprout within Livia. It wasn't concern, not really, more like annoyance. Serena was supposed to be helping. She was always the responsible one, the one who took care of the details, the one who made sure everything ran smoothly. Later that night, Livia's friends surprised her with a gathering at a trendy downtown club. Dressed in the blue dress her mother had suggested, which did make her look elegant, she held court surrounded by admiring friends. But even amidst the laughter and compliments, a nagging thought kept intruding. Where was Serena? She glanced at her phone again. Still no reply. That was unusual. Even if Serena only responded with a Turk and a side-eye emoji, she always replied eventually. As the evening continued, Livia started opening her gifts. She got a lot of things she liked, but still, no sign of Serena. And for the first time, someone else noticed her absence. Where's your sister? Her friend Ashley asked. Livia frowned. She had forgotten. A month passed. Nearly a full month, since Serena walked out the front door. And the silence in the Vale household was deafening. Not a peaceful silence, but a strained, uneasy one, filled with unspoken accusations and growing anxiety. Carol finally broke. She pulled out her phone, fingers trembling slightly, and typed a message. Serena, where are you? You haven't been home in a while. Call me. She stared at the screen, waiting for the familiar delivered notification. Never came. She hit resend. Still nothing. She deleted the message. Maybe Serena had changed her number. That was it. She was just being silly. More time passed. Days bled into weeks. The silence stretched, becoming unbearable. It was Richard, Serena's father, who finally cracked. He needed help. He was drowning in paperwork, overwhelmed by the financial side of his business. Serena had always handled it with quiet efficiency. Damn it, he muttered, slamming his fist on his desk. Where is that girl? He picked up his phone and dialed Serena's number. The call rang once. Twice. Then went straight to voicemail. He tried again. And again. No answer. Just silence. He hadn't even bothered to call in a while. Truth was, he couldn't remember the last time he'd tried. When he finally did, it went straight to voicemail. He tried again. Same result. Frustration tightened his voice as he dialed Carol. Have you heard from Serena? No, Carol replied, her tone defensive. She's probably just sulking somewhere, being dramatic as usual. But Serena hadn't been home in weeks. She wasn't answering her phone, her emails. It wasn't like her. She'll come back when she gets over herself, Carol insisted, though her words lacked real belief. Or when she needs money, Richard added, just as unconvincing. The conversation spiraled into an argument. Accusations flying, old wounds reopening. They were both beginning to feel the massive hole Serena's absence had left behind. They had taken her for granted, used her, ignored her, and now she was gone. Later that evening, Carol sat at the kitchen table, staring at a half-eaten bowl of ice cream. Livia was upstairs getting ready for another night out. Mom, have you seen my diamond earrings? Livia called down, irritation threading through her voice. The ones Serena borrowed. Carol froze. Serena hadn't borrowed them. Livia had given them to her. A rare act of generosity after Serena helped her through a messy situation Carol had long forgotten about. I don't know, dear, Carol stammered. Maybe ask Serena. The name hung in the air like a sudden slap. A sharp reminder of the missing piece in their family puzzle. Livia came downstairs, confused. Ask Serena. Mom, are you okay? Serena hasn't been. Carol's hand flew to her mouth, eyes widening in horror. For a split second she had forgotten. Completely forgotten that Serena was gone. She stammered, unable to meet Livia's gaze. That slip, that accidental mention of Serena's name, lingered like a chilling testament to their collective guilt, their shared neglect. The first crack had appeared in their carefully built facade of normalcy, and it was only a matter of time before it all came crashing down. Serena's absence was no longer a quiet void. It was a gaping wound, festering and spreading its poison through the Vale family. They were like a poorly constructed building suddenly missing a crucial support beam, and the cracks were starting to show. Richard, Serena's father, felt the impact first. His small but once thriving construction company was spiraling downward. He'd always relied on Serena to handle the finances, the paperwork, the intricate details he never had patience for. She had a knack for numbers, a quiet efficiency that kept everything afloat. Now invoices went unpaid, bills piled up, clients grew frustrated. He tried to manage it himself but was lost. Signs and software and spreadsheets made no sense to him. He'd trusted Serena implicitly, never bothering to learn the details. Now he was paying the price. Meanwhile, Mark, Serena's brother, found himself caught in a scandal of his own making, a series of reckless decisions fueled by alcohol and a false sense of invincibility. A compromising video, a leaked email, a bitter ex-girlfriend. It was a perfect storm of bad choices. In the past, Serena would have stepped in to clean up his mess, smooth things over, spin the narrative in his favor. But Serena wasn't there. And Mark was left to face the consequences alone. Livia, the golden child, the pampered princess, also felt the sting of Serena's absence. Her carefully curated social life, once a whirlwind of popularity and parties, was unraveling. She realized with growing unease that Serena had been the silent architect of her success. Serena remembered birthdays, sent thank-you notes, smoothed over awkward situations, mediated disputes between friends. Without her, Livia floundered, offending influential people, forgetting important events, making social missteps. Her image of effortless charm was cracking. The family, once a unit of dysfunctional support, was now a collection of isolated individuals, each struggling with their own problems and blaming the others. Arguments became more frequent, more bitter. If Serena were here, she'd know what to do, Richard snapped at Carol one day. Don't you dare blame Serena for your incompetence. Carol shot back. You're the one who treated her like a servant. You spoiled Livia rotten and never gave Serena a second thought. Caught in the crossfire, Livia retreated to her room, scrolling desperately through social media for validation from a world that was increasingly indifferent to her. Slowly, painfully, the realization dawned on each of them. They had relied on Serena. They had taken her for granted, treated her like a shadow, an afterthought, a convenient solution to their problems. And now she was gone. It was Carol, sitting alone in the kitchen one evening, staring at a faded photo of Serena, that finally voiced the unspoken truth. The photo showed Serena as a shy, awkward girl with a gap-toothed smile, holding a handmade birthday card Carol had barely glanced at before tossing aside. She picked up the photo, tracing Serena's face with her fingers. She looked at the card, childish handwriting, heartfelt message, and realized with a sickening jolt that she didn't even know her own daughter. Didn't know her favorite color, her dreams, her fears. She had focused so much on Livia, on Mark, on Richard, that she had completely overlooked Serena, treated her like a ghost. And now, that's exactly what she had become, a ghost haunting their lives with her absence. The glue that held their fragile family together was gone, and they were falling apart piece by piece. In a cramped room at Mrs. Peterson's boarding house, Serena had regrouped, planned her next move. But now it was time to move on. She'd saved enough from her waitressing job to afford a tiny studio overlooking the harbor. It wasn't much, but it was hers. Her own space, her own haven, where she could build a life on her own terms. The Salt Air Cafe had been a good starting point, a way to get her feet wet in this new town. But she knew she couldn't wait tables forever. She had skills honed in her previous life, skills ignored and undervalued by her family. She had a talent for computers, a secret passion she'd never dared pursue. Now she was free to chase it. She bought a used laptop and started offering services online. Website design, data analysis, digital marketing. Word spread quickly. She was fast, reliable, discreet. Her business, Phoenix Solutions, began to grow. She named it as a nod to her rebirth, rising from the ashes of her past. She made real friends. People who saw her, valued her, appreciated her for who she was. Sarah, the owner of the cafe. Mark, a different one, thankfully. A local fisherman. Emily, a cozy bookstore owner. They gathered at the beach for bonfires, sharing stories and laughter. For the first time in her life, Serena felt like she belonged. But the past still lingered. Memories haunted her. Screeching tires, blinding headlights, crushing impact, darkness. The accident that ended her old life. She remembered driving home exhausted, overwhelmed, desperate to be perfect, invisible, everything and nothing all at once. A drunk driver ran a red light and changed everything. The memory still made her shudder, but it no longer controlled her. It was part of her story, not the whole of it. She had survived, been given a second chance, and she wasn't going to waste it. The Vale family was in full-blown panic mode. Serena's continued absence shattered their illusion of normalcy, revealing the gaping void at the heart of their family. Carol, driven by guilt and desperation, led the search. She checked Serena's old job, showed photos around. No luck. Livia scoured social media, baffled. How could someone disappear so completely? Richard hired a private investigator. But Serena had covered her tracks well. No digital trail, no forwarding address. Just silence. And with it came a chilling realization. They didn't know her. Had no idea where to look. Had treated her like a shadow, and now she had vanished into one. Serena chose a small, nondescript cafe halfway between her old life and new. Neutral ground. No memories, no emotional baggage. She arrived early, hands wrapped around a warm mug of tea. Not nervous. Not angry. Just calm. Resolved. They arrived minutes later. Carol, Richard, Livia, Mark. Hesitant. Unsure. Apologies poured out like a torrent of rain. "We're so sorry, Serena," Carol said, voice choked. "We didn't realize. We need you," Richard added. "Things are falling apart without you." Livia stayed silent, twisting her fingers nervously. Serena listened patiently. Let the words wash over her. "Hello. Me. Too late. You never remembered me when I was there," she said calmly. "Never saw me. Never heard me. I was invisible, a shadow in your perfect family portrait. So why should I remember you now?" Silence. Horror. She stood, placed her untouched tea on the table. "Goodbye," she said softly but firmly, and walked away. As she stepped into the sunlight, the weight lifted. The past no longer defined her. She was free. Truly free. Now, standing on her apartment balcony overlooking the harbor, watching fishing boats return under a fiery sunset, Serena smiled. Life was good. Really good. Phoenix Solutions was thriving. She had a cozy apartment filled with light and the sound of waves. Real friends. Purpose. Connection. She was happy. Not because life was perfect, but because she had embraced it, flaws and all. Forgiveness wasn't about condoning the past. It was about letting go of its hold on her. She was Serena. Not the forgotten daughter. Not the ghost. Not the victim. Just Serena. Finally truly free. And at last happy.